Welcome to the ThunderCast, your Marshall Athletics podcast produced by the fans, for the fans, with your hosts, Russ Livingood and KD Hudnall. We're bringing you the thundering word on the thundering herd each and every week, so keep it right here. The ThunderCast is on the loose. Thanks for downloading another episode of the ThunderCast. You can follow us on Twitter at ThunderCast_pod. The ThunderCast are your Marshall representatives for the College Huddle, the largest fan-driven podcasting network in the country. Head over to thecollegehuddle.com to check out all the awesome podcasts that are a part of the College Huddle podcasting network. Russ, huge weekend this past weekend. I think everybody's still riding high from a pretty awesome homecoming weekend. Sights are set on Georgia Southern and what's about to happen this coming Saturday, but so much good stuff happened in homecoming across several sports, really, that there's a lot to talk about, and there's some accolades that we got to talk about, and of course, the crown jewel of it all was the unbelievably awesome football game that we were all witness to. I know some folks probably have some feelings about certain things and other things, but at the end of the day, it was a complete domination of Appalachian State in most, if not all, phases of the game. And they kind of are who we thought they were, and we'll break that down more later. But let's get into this one with a quick word from our sponsors at Leasure Oliver PLLC.
If you've been hurt in a wreck, call the law firm of Leasure Oliver PLLC. Find them at 304carwreck.com.
After an amazingly positive and entertaining homecoming weekend, how about you hit me here? Give me at least 5 things every Herd fan needs to know this week.
Well, here are 5 things every Herd fan needs to know this week. As always, brought to you by Ignite Link, the Tri-State's premier IT management team. Number 1, Braylon Braxton is named the Sun Belt Conference Football Offensive Player of the Week.
Okay. Not too shabby for a guy that nobody saw starting this game until they all trotted out there for the first series. You know, we had been talking that Stone Earl had firmly entrenched to put a chokehold on the QB1 spot. Rumors were swirling that he got dinged up a little bit, and whether that was gamesmanship by Huff or whether that's true to form, we'll leave that to others to speculate on. It's not our business to talk about injuries if they are speculative. But let me go this route. If it was gamesmanship by Huff, if they really did want to shake it up a little bit and kind of get App guessing out of the gate, boy, oh boy, what a gamble that was. Braylon had a freaking unbelievably masterful game. Doesn't blow you away through the air, but man, he tore it up on the ground. That opening drive, they didn't have an answer for him. I mean, he went right down the field, mostly due to his legs. And then when you look at the stat line at the end of the day, 3 through the air, 2 on the ground, the most rushing yards since Cato back in, I don't know what year, 13 or 14. Dang, dude, he had an SBC Offensive Player of the Week worthy game, and I'm glad they awarded it to him. But, hey, that's 2 in a row now for the Herd. A Defensive Player of the Week, J.J. Roberts 2 weeks ago. Offensive Player of the Week this week. The Herd machine, whether you like it or not, it's starting to roll.
That performance, it wasn't the same, but it reminded me of A.J. Graham, I think, in 2011 when he had a bunch of touchdowns on the ground and through the air, and 5 touchdowns overall, 8 of 14. We're going to get into this. 8 of 14, 129 yards through the air, 140 on the ground to lead the Marshall squad. And picked up 2 touchdowns there on the ground, 5 overall. Absolutely great performance. Number 2, sticking with the week, Smalley Warner was named Sunbelt Conference Swimmer of the Week, while Grace Kelsheimer was named Sunbelt Conference Diver of the Week.
Yep.
Kelsheimer qualifies for the NCAA zones on both the 1 meter and 3 meter dives.
Yep, that slid in there, I bet, for a lot of Herd fans. Didn't see that one. if you're listening to the Thundercast and have been listening to us for at least through last swimming and diving season, these names should be in the forefront of your mind because these are two of our higher performing swimmers and or divers that are on this squad. No surprise to see qualifications for NCAA regionals and things like that. This is kind of what they do, you know. This was a great week of the weeks. Yeah. But I think swim and dive, because it goes largely kind of under the radar still, probably a lot of folks miss this one. And this was one hell of a week of the weeks, man.
I'm disappointed. You missed an opportunity to say below the surface. You know, we're talking about swimming, you know. Anyway, Kelsimer.
I'm tired, man.
I'm unbelievably tired. Kelsimer, if I'm not mistaken, got both 1 meter and 3 meter qualifications last year, so she's no stranger to these accolades. We are going to keep it with the of the weeks. You said it was a banner week. Kylie Maston, number 3, named Sunbelt Conference Women's Runner of the Week. She sets a new personal best for the second consecutive meet in the 5K at the Live in Lou meet.
Yep, and that's 2 for her this season. Right, and if I'm not, is it 2 in a row even?
I think it is 2 in a row.
I think it is 2 in a row.
You know what? It might be 2 meets in a row, and they had a week off in between, so it could have gone to somebody else. But 2 that she ran.
Yeah, 2 for her.
Yeah.
Even though they might not be concurrent for SBC weeks.
Right.
But still, really, yeah, that was really cool. You know, here I was driving to the football game, and here we were talking about the team being in Louisville, and I was like, oh, well, you know, I'm going to the football game, and you know, kind of a bummer. It's not like you can really go. We've talked about this before. You can't really just go watch cross country or anything like that. But the cool part about that was, I'm sitting there with my cousin. We're enjoying the game, whatever, and I just look over my shoulder, and like 3 rows behind me, she's sitting there with you know, a couple of the other teammates, and Caleb was sitting there, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So, you know, they went and competed early on, and then made the short trip back. Obviously, they're coming back to Huntington anyway, but they made the trip back, and then all went to the ball game. So I thought that was really cool, man. You love it when it's stuff like that. They could have went home and just started like the recovery process and all that kind of thing, but no, big game on tap. Hurd and App State, SBC implications, classic historic Southern Conference rivalry. It's homecoming week, and they're out there at the game.
I don't know if it's because I am hyper aware of it now since we started this in 2022, or if it's always been that way, or if this is new. I don't know. But when I go to the games, I see more athletes from other schools chipping in, doing stuff, supporting in the crowd. I see coaches there as well.
Yeah.
For the different things. And that just really drives home Hurd family, you know.
Yeah, and I think it's because I'm sitting where I'm sitting now. You know, for years and years and years, I sat over in section 228 in the end zone section, and it was just surrounded by fans. You know, that's just what it was. And now I sat with my cousin, and they're over in, I don't know, I don't know exactly what section it is, maybe like 104 or something like that. Kind of up behind from where all the players' parents are sitting and stuff. Yeah. So I see a lot more athletes and a lot more coaches in those sections, you know, and it's not, I don't think that's any coincidence. That's probably where tickets for faculty and stuff are kind of reserved, you know, in that area. But yeah, I think Coach Mercer, the tennis coach, was down the road from me a couple of games ago, and I'm like you, I'm more cognizant of that now than I was, and especially out in the tailgating area, you know, because we're constantly like waving people over, inviting people over to the tailgates. A trio of women's basketball players came by the game before last, and you know, got some good food, and I was walking through the lots over to see to link up with my cousin for this last game before we entered the stadium, and I saw some of the track and field athletes out there, and it wasn't just like they're decked out in their, you know, team issued apparel that would say like Hurd track and field or something. No, I saw Chloe Cahill, and she's got the green and white striped bibbed overalls on, you know, she was just like full fan mode, and I thought, man, this is cool. This is cool. They're not just out there repping their own sport. They're really getting involved in being a fan, you know, and that's just cool to see, man.
Number 4, John Zubek has been named the new associate athletic director of compliance for Marshall Athletics.
Okay, didn't know that. I'm going to have to default to you here because I didn't see that, didn't know that. So, school me here. Give me some info if you have any.
I don't have his background. I
Okay.
didn't do a deep dive on it. Sean Tuttle had recently left. He's at the NCAA headquarters now.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah. So this is the replacement, and it's just how these things go. Somebody doesn't leave, and you have somebody there on Monday. There's a vetting and all that, but I don't have his background. Hopefully we're going to get to know him because we have always tried to make sure that we are compliant with everything. So that's the unsung job really that goes around. But you think about how many sports we have and have to keep track of all that, not only eligibility and things like that, but in this world of NIL and transfers and all this stuff, and how many years do they have? And it's a lot of work. So,
well, yeah. And it's just things that we've done. Like we would just ask a question and be like, hey, is it okay if we do this? Are we crossing any lines? And they're like, no, full compliant. That's fine.
Yeah.
So imagine not having someone in that role. Now there are people that were picking up the slack, but this is someone now that's sole focus is going to be doing that. Whereas others were sharing responsibility while having other tasks on their plate, no doubt. But yeah, you're right. Total unsung hero. Very important part of any athletic department because boy, we know how they like to beat down the little guy when you barely make a little rule infraction, like no disrespect, the Ohio States of the world, they'll look the other way for them. But boy, oh boy, if little Marshall does something, they want to shut the program down.
The tiniest little dip my toe into his bio that I've seen is he's most recently been in the legal sector at the state and business level, but previously he was working in compliance at Arizona State.
Okay, so there is a collegiate compliance background. You got to like the idea of working at the state level too. That's that's pretty cool. So yeah, I think this is a welcome addition, I would imagine.
Number 5, men's soccer has their game at UCF moved to Sunday due to the horrible weather hitting Florida. It's already hit down there. This is late Thursday night as we're recording. But men's soccer got it moved to Sunday, and I think that was best for everybody involved. Nobody wanted to be going around that Hurricane Milton that was hitting and all that, trying to navigate a soccer game.
Yeah, it's kind of just shocking that the match stayed on, instead of just like trying to move it or something like that, just because it was so up in the air of how that would really impact the entire area. And my old stomping grounds took the brunt of it. It looked like, I don't want to get into it too much, but I did see the roof of the Trop get ripped off. So that was shocking, but it looks like everybody else kind of fared okay. My family that's up in the northern Orlando area, my brother-in-law lives between Daytona and Orlando. They just got some heavy rain and stuff, and there was some flooding, of course, but like nothing super major. They didn't lose anything. A couple of, road washouts and stuff like that. But ultimately, everybody was okay. So that was good to hear. But as far as the soccer match goes, this is historically, since we moved to the Sun Belt, been a bigger game, one of the tougher outs on the slate. Kind of shocking to not see UCF, ranked kind of high up there as they have been the past few seasons. So I don't expect this one will be easy at all, as none of them are really in the Sun Belt, especially when you are a top dog. Marshall's not necessarily the top dog, especially when you talk about rankings. Now, we are the defending SBC champion, so in that capacity, we are the top dog. But UCF's usually one of those top 4 teams as well, or top 5 teams, and it looks like James Madison might have taken their role this year. Kentucky's still historically strong. West Virginia, of course, is strong. But I did see this. I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but since we're talking about soccer, Marshall and James Madison fought to that epic, draw. And kind of held serve in the rankings. JMU moved up a little bit. Marshall slid back one, I think, and
one spot.
And man, what a game that one was. That was exciting. I know we're going to talk about it later, but just another notch in the feather, or another feather in the cap for homecoming. You know, that was cool, man. But good luck to the Herd. You know, they need to get one.
The only thing I have to add at the very end is I was shocked about the roof coming off of the Trop until I realized that it was just a fabric roof.
Mm-hmm.
You know, once I saw that, I'm like, why did they put all the linemen from all these states and put them down there on cots when they have a fabric roof over their head with a hurricane coming in? But,
I mean, it makes you wonder, but it had survived this long, you know, and all these storms, because storms don't hit Tampa that way, you know, and this is one of the, it just doesn't do that. It doesn't hit like that. And usually it's much weaker when it gets to Tampa, but yeah, that really shook some things up. So I hope, you know, at least the place wasn't full. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't full of first responders and linemen when that happened. That would have been far worse.
KD, we had a lot to discuss, but there were only 5 things this week. So a lot in the 5.
I like that. There's some high quality 5 things there. Just lots of the weeks is. I mean, let me tell you, if you didn't take part in homecoming like big time, if you didn't dive into it, you missed a lot of awesomeness. But luckily, most folks were at the marquee event of the weekend, which of course is the homecoming football game. And let's talk about that bad boy, because it was the Appalachian State coming to town in a classic. What we thought was going to be a knockdown drag out, and neither one of us thought it was going to be a shootout. And it kind of turned into a little bit of a shootout, even though Marshall only trailed in the game by like 52 total seconds or something like that. This one really wasn't just totally out of reach. It always felt like, all right, a play here and a play there, and App could be right back in this bad boy. And, you know, and as we were sitting there watching the game, my cousin would be like, 42 feel a lot better if it was 49. You know what I mean? We'd go get another score or something. But this was a great one, man. Great one. The home crowd, big crowd. You had told me pregame during ThunderCast Live powered by Nightlink that you expected to see somewhere between 27 and 29,000. That you had looked at seating maps and tickets were looking sparse, and it was right as rain, 28,000 and some change that made the trip, and they were treated to a gym. Coach Huff talked about it as well. We had a lot of recruits in attendance for this one, as to be expected, because you would imagine that we are going toe-to-toe and head-to-head with a lot of similar recruits with Appalachian State. So this is definitely the type of game that you want to go out and put a show on, and we were able to do that.
I think had the weather down in Boone not been as impactful and disruptive and life-changing and all that, App usually brings more. I think that would have probably been a sellout.
Maybe but definitely you would have probably seen tenfold the amount of App fans that were there. Yeah. That's easy to say.
Well, if you would have had that, that's what I'm saying. You know, capacity is 30,000 and 475 is what they call it. You know, we were 2,500 away from that or less, really. So they probably could have brought another 1,500 to 2,000 because they travel really well.
They do travel really well, and there was a good pocket of fans up there anyway. Yeah. You know, we saw a handful make their way through our tailgate. We talked to a couple of more that were just walking by down the alley, and it turns out that most of them, the concentration of App fans, were tailgating over in the State Electric lot. They got there really early before they even started collecting money for it. But it was nice to see that there was a contingency of them that made the trip, and we talked about, you know, what it would mean. And you could tell that even though that team was going through what they were going through, they were not about to pack it in at any point. They had nothing but fight in them from the beginning to the end. This just came up on the wrong end of it if you're an App State fan. But if you're a Herd fan, it was a 52-37 victory, which rises the Herd to 3-2 on the season, 1-0 in the all-important Sun Belt Division or Sun Belt Conference standings. Really currently in a tie for first place. There's not, it's, you know, call it is what it is. The notes on this one real quick is that the trend continues. The home team has still won every game in this series since it has rekindled in 2020. Georgia Southern, who we will have this weekend, and Coastal Carolina, who is, I think, getting beaten right now by JMU as we are recording on Thursday evening. Currently, as we are recording, that game's not over. We are all tied for first in the SBC East, but it looks like Coastal's going to be 1-1 here in really short order, probably before folks listen to this episode, barring a massively impressive comeback. And, of course, the Sun Belt Conference Player of the Week for the second straight week, this time on the offensive side of the ball behind Braylon Braxton's gem of a game. Russ, let's talk about particulars in this one before I get into indicators. But let me tee you up with a question to kick off your synopsis. Mm-hmm. How freaking good did it feel to really catch a glimpse of the potential of this Herd offense at home against an SBC opponent?
Look, great. We didn't even have to throw a whole lot. It was there. I mean, you see 3 touchdowns through the air. 2 of those were, short passes that one went for 5 yards, one went for 75 yards. Mm-hmm. But we also had a drop touchdown in the end zone, or would have been in the end zone, by Metcalf, and then a 26-yarder to Chuck Montgomery in the end zone. So you saw that we had the ability to do it, but what we really needed to do was expose that App State rushing defense, just like South Alabama had done about 2 weeks prior, and we were explosive. We went down 10-7. You mentioned it. We came right back. We go up, and then within, I think it was 62 seconds, we had scored twice, and mm-hmm. we're up 21-10, and then not long after that, it's 28-10. It just showed what we could do. App State had a great passing game coming into this game. We knew that they were going to be able to do that. And as well as they did, I felt like they gave their best, their absolute best they could do through the air, and they couldn't keep up with us. They would score, we would just score again.
Yeah, that's what it was. You're right. So let's save, like we've been trying to do, all of our conversation for grades, mm-hmm. because that's where it's at. I'm gonna start talking about indicators. I don't know if it'll surprise you. Or it may surprise some of the folks that are listening, but that's what I was saying. Like, App is who we thought they were. Mm-hmm. And we said in the preview, they're going to get a lot of yards and they're going to move the ball. But the key is keeping them out of the end zone. Marshall didn't do a fabulous job of that, giving up 37 points. But there were some things, that happened that aided some of those scores. Other ones, they just earned. They just flat out earned. So total mm-hmm. yards in this one, 473 for App State, 365 for the Herd. Time of possession, big favor for App State, 35-24 to the Herd's 24-26. I think that's kind of speaks volumes. 24 and a half minutes of possession, put up 52 yards or 52 points. Jeez.
Do you know what the time of possession was for us through the first half?
Oh yeah, I saw it was they were almost up a whole quarter. I mean, it was
7 minutes and 46 seconds.
It was crazy.
Out of 30, it was 7 minutes and 46 seconds.
It was crazy. First downs also heavily in favor of Appalachian State. 33 first downs for the Mountaineers, 21 for the Herd. Third downs, though, is where it starts to swing in the favor of Marshall. 3 of 14 on third down for App State. 5 of 8 for Marshall. The caveat to that 3 of 14 is that they went 6 for 6 on fourth down. Good Lord. Penalties, 15 penalties for the Appalachian State Mountaineers for 158 yards. Woof. 8 for 85 for the Herd. Also a little uncharacteristic. Marshall's been playing cleaner football up to this point. Turnovers, 2 for App State, 0 for Marshall. So Marshall wins the turnover battle. Excellent. If you're gonna, I think if you're gonna lose some indicators, I'd rather lose the total yards one and maybe the first down ones, but win third down penalties and turnovers for sure. How about some player stats here? Braylon Braxton, 8 of 14 for 129, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 15 carries for 140 yards, 2 touchdowns, good for 9.3 yards per carry. And you know what? He really didn't take a lot of hits in those 15 also, which is something that we had talked about with Stone Earl. A.J. Turner, 12 carries, 65 yards, and a touchdown. 1 reception for 5 yards and a touchdown. Jordan Houston, 6 carries, 35 yards. 1 reception went for 75 yards and a touchdown, like you mentioned earlier. And Chuck Montgomery, just 2 catches, 29 yards, but he finds the end zone. Braylon Braxton was the surprising starter for the Herd and ended up earning Offensive Player of the Week. Wow. The Herd racked up 236 team rushing yards, and the Herd offensive line allowed 0 sacks. Would you like to say anything right now, or would you just like me to go straight on to defense?
No, I want to say real quick, we lost total yards to them, and we lost by a lot in passing to them, but we had more yards per pass by a lot. They had 6.7 per pass. We had 9.2. What this boils down to is you look at the time of possession that they had the ball and the sheer number of plays. They threw the ball 30 more times than we did. So you expect them to get those yards. They ran the ball 1 time more than we did, and we still blew them out of the water on our rushes. So when we start talking about the defense, that's going to come into this a lot.
Yeah, it was a very, very, very much a bend, almost broke day for the Herd, but they did not. They were able to capitalize on their opportunities with turnovers. So let's talk about this defense. Jaden Yates, again, leading the way for the Herd. 12 total tackles for the sophomore linebacker, 4 of those solo, and half a tackle for loss. A.G. McGee adds 8 total tackles, 4 solo. And then we've got a quartet of guys with 6 total tackles apiece. Jacoby Henderson, fine game all throughout. 6 total tackles, 3 solo, and 2 passes defended. Tested early, tested often, rose to the occasion. Landed on getting that first career INT. Congratulations to Jacoby. Jadarius Green McKnight, also 6 tackles, 2 solo, 1 pass defended. Ian Foster, 6 tackles, 2 solo. Of course, some of those came on special teams because he's a friggin' weapon. And then J.J. Roberts adds 6 tackles, 1 solo, and 4 passes defended for JJ. Mike Green, hello, ladies and gentlemen, 5 total tackles, 4 solo, 2.5 tackles for loss, and 2.5 sacks against a team that had allowed just 3 sacks all year long. Impact plays for the Herd, 4 total sacks, 2.5 by Green, 1 by Dave Harris, and 0.5 sack by Tyquez Legs. 8 tackles for loss in this one, 7 passes defended, 2 INTs, and a pick 6 by J.C. Anderson. This Herd defense came to play. They gave up yards, but when it came down to it, they found the backfield a lot. They got stops when they needed them on 3rd down, and they found the freaking end zone. All in all, they did give up 473 yards and 5 touchdowns to App State, which you don't like. But the sacks really sticks out to you. The impact plays total stick out to you. But giving up 6 of 6 on 4th down, including 2 4th down touchdowns, woof, not ideal. Up and down day for the Herd defense, but by golly, they did enough to get this win. You got anything on them before I move on?
Just to say again, it's the sheer number of plays that they ran. They ran 84 plays and got 5.6 total yards per play that they ran. And when you look at that, that's not like they came in and just absolutely destroyed us. They just had a lot more chances than we did. You're going to see points. You're going to see yards. The defense played better than what the initial reaction is when you look and say, well, I'll just talk about that when we get to the grades.
I got you. Okay. Reese Verhoff, 1 of 1 on field goals, 7 of 7 on extra points. Alec Clark, only 2 punts on the day, 78 total yards, 39-yard average, and 1 inside the 20. Jordan Houston had 4 kick returns for 84 total yards with an average of 21. Russ, let's move right into grades. Jiminy Christmas, what can it be for the quarterback, Braylon Braxton?
A+. You got 140 yards, which led the team, 129 with 3 touchdowns on a highly efficient. He was 8 of 14. 2 of those were throwaways on plays that, excellent IQ to know that, hey, if I go right here, I'm out of the pocket, chuck that into the stands where nobody can get to it. They had the drop pass that would have been another touchdown by Metcalf, who ended up getting injured in this game. 8 of 14, and 3 of those were not attempts really that were his fault for coming down with an incompletion. Highly efficient. You're talking about if he hits that one to Metcalf, and I think that's when we got the field goal, if I'm not mistaken. You're looking at 4 through the air, well over $150. I think that would have been a 40-yarder. So you would have been close to 170 yards, 4 touchdowns through the air, 2 on the ground. Amazing.
Yeah, this was a great day. Outstanding performance in what nobody saw coming. Nobody was talking about it. Like, oh, it's going to be Braxton today. Nobody was talking about it. So, if anything, and to just me playing devil's advocate, of course, what this is going to do is fire up those freaking Herd fans that love to be like, see, I was right all along. He should have been playing all along. And you know what? To me, I don't give a shit who's taking the snaps as long as the Herd is winning. Now, I know these guys want to take hold of the job and they want to have the job and they want it to be theirs. We don't want a carousel quarterback situation going on, but it's all about winning. And that was a recipe for winning. We knew that App State could not defend the run well. We talked about that. Really, one of my keys to victory was it's AJ Turner time. Yep. And even he broke off the long one and found the end zone. But I didn't expect Braylon Braxton to be the starter. And he just found success early on the ground and all game long. It was a really nice change of pace, but it also fit the weakness and the mismatch that was this App State defense, right? And it saved some contact against Stone Earl. So, if he was dinged up, okay, I understand why Braxton gets the start. If he wasn't, then you try something out. It's working. There's no need to make a switch. And you save one game worth of abuse on whoever, if Earl's your QB1. How about offensively as a whole?
Offensive, I've got A+ again. Again, we were efficient through the air. We tore it up on the ground. Much less plays than our opponent, and we still put up 45 offensive points. Counting the we got down there to get the field goal. We got down there to get the extra points. The defense comes up with 7. We come up with 45. I think we would have taken 45 coming into this game when we were all talking about, I see 34-31, that sort of thing. You saw 30 or 31-24. Was that what you – something like that. So even taking away the defensive score, we just went down and destroyed them. No turnovers, no sacks, very few tackles for loss. The offensive line, I've got a lot of that when we talk about the next episode doing the preview. I've got some great stats on the year for them. They just gave our quarterback and our running backs all the time in the world that they needed, really. They kept them clean and they set them up for success.
And I want to give a special shout out here to offensive coordinator Seth Dagey, because there were some plays that were drawn up, and one in particular was the short pass to Turner for the touchdown. Yeah. Man, the pre-snap movement and motion in that game, in that play, it was all in an effort to confuse that defense and what was going on, because it was a freaking outlet pass to the running back, man. All of that. All those bells and whistles. It was beautiful.
The blocking, too, for only a 5-yard pass or what it was, to a running back. I mean, the wide receiver and tight end over there was just, they had it locked down.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because I want to give another special shout out, because this does not go unnoticed. Our tight ends blocked their asses off in that game for guys that did not see a ball. It's like, here we are a third of the way through the season, and our tight ends have been a non-issue in a position group that we thought would heavily factor in the success rate of Marshall's offense. And they have been a virtual non-issue outside of one touchdown pass, which was a beauty. But those guys are still playing like they're supposed to. They're blocking like they're supposed to. And you love to see that. It's like everybody's bought in, because they know if we all do our job, we can put up points and we can win football games.
Final words on this offense for this grade of A+ is, we have discussed it. It's been all over social media. You hear people in the stands or at the tailgate saying this is not an air raid. And we always said it was going to be a modified. But, I think it's finally hitting home for some people. And we have been saying that, you're still running an air raid, you're just maybe running more heavy on the rush, ratio because it's there. Stone Earl rushing 15 times last week. I doubt that we had 15 designed rushes for him. It was just that's what's open, take it. It was successful early. But when you look at this and you look at the thing that you're talking about, the motion beforehand, the blocking sealed off over there, just a little 5-yard run or pass to the running back. We didn't see that type of offense last year. We didn't see these routes. We didn't see this get the ball out in under 3 seconds. And I think that is the concept of this modified air raid that is overlooked. We are running and using the concepts of get the ball out quick. And if it's not there, run when it's there. It's heavily, heavily modified. I don't know that we're going to see 70 passes a game. I don't know that we're going to see that ratio of 65-35. But we're going to see the benefits of being able to run when we're running the routes that we are and the plays that we are, the sets that we're in. It's just totally different than last year. And case in point, when we were talking about on the post-game spaces on Sunday, I brought up Braylon Braxton. If you take away the 26-yard pass that he threw to a wide-open Chuck Montgomery. Beautiful pass. I'm not saying that he didn't deserve that pass, but other than those, he threw the 75-yarder was basically a direct lateral to the side. It was the same yard line as where he threw it in the background as where he was standing. It went for 75 yards. Mm-hmm. But the rest of the passes were 8-yard completion. This is not through the air. This is the completions. 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, and 2. Now, when we did that last year, everyone was complaining about our passing game. And you see how efficient this is here. And we did 8 for 14, but we came through with 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. So I'm buying into everything that you're talking about, Seth Dagey, and this scheme. I don't care if we throw 100 times or 4 times. If we're putting up 52 points and winning a game, that's all I care about. And the offense to me looks drastically different this year. Even throwing the same short passes that we did this year, the efficiency is off the charts. Yeah. And I say Huff, Dagey, Coach Creel with the offensive line, they have put those guys in just the best possible scenario to be successful.
But it also helps that you went out and you hit the portal to revamp your entire wide receiver room. So now you have more guys that are taking those short passes and making larger gains, right? Mm-hmm. But right now, here's where I'm at the point. I don't care what you call this offense. I don't give a shit. If you call it an air raid and you pass 3 times a game, I don't care. Yeah. I like what I'm seeing, right? And I think a lot of Herd fans like what they're seeing. Yeah. I don't care. This can be the greatest offseason sell and bait and switch of all time for all I'm concerned. I don't care. I'll be fooled by the name. I don't care because it's all about winning football games and putting up points. And right now, Marshall's not having trouble putting up points and winning games. Right. So we're on a little bit of a streak here. You go on a nice run. It's going to be a quick turnaround. You've got Georgia Southern this weekend, and then the quick turnaround for the midweek, which has been unkind to Marshall since we've joined the SBC. Hey, you go on a little run here. You keep putting up 40 points a game. You are not going to lose very many football games putting up 40 points a game. And Marshall's kind of kicking a little ass offensively. I don't care what you call it. How about this defense?
Well, first, let me lead off like I did on the post-game spaces on Sunday, and this is all going to sound negative. Our defense gave up 33 first downs. They gave up 6 out of 6 fourth down attempts, 473 yards, almost 300 through the air, 293. They gave up 180 yards rushing. They let the offense stay on the field for 35 minutes. They just all of these different things here. They gave up 37 points. All that sounds a negative and like we're going to have a really low grade. B-. You start looking, we had a defensive touchdown. They ran that many plays. We only gave up, like I said, 5.6. I'm basically dinging them so much because of the pass interference that we had. It allowed them to extend some drives and things like that. I'm not going to take away this App State quarterback came in averaging 307.5. We gave 293 up, but it was below their average. We knew he was going to be able to throw like that.
We did.
We knew they were going to be able to get those yardage. I think that a B minus, I mean, it could have been even better with the performance, like we were talking about the individual stuff. We got to the quarterback 4 times. They'd only given up 3 sacks the entire season before that. We came up with 2 interceptions. Mainly it was the pass interference. And there was only like one of those that I thought was really ticky-tacky. The rest of them, we were just being so aggressive, and they were throwing the ball so much that we ended up getting those. The pass deflections, man, we also almost came down with 3 more interceptions. J.J. Roberts almost came down with 2. And if he gets that one that was one-handed falling backwards in the end zone, I mean, you talk about Christian Fitzpatrick's one-handed catch. I think that would have been even better. B minus for me on this. And a lot of people that I saw was like, we're going to have to do better on defense. And I'm like, man, if they have the ball for 45 minutes, you expect them to put up yards and points.
Yeah, but most folks are looking at a microcosm of the day, and they're going to the stat line and they're seeing, holy shit, not too far away from 500 yards of offense. That's terrifying. And I'll tell you what, there was really maybe 3 bad defensive plays, like just bad. There's the ones that'll give up yards and give up, but I mean bad. And the most glaring one was on a 4th and 19 that went for a touchdown or something. That can't happen. That cannot happen. It was 4th and 19 from the 27. There it is. 1:50 to go in the 3rd quarter. And it went for a 27-yard touchdown. And when I watched it in real time, I was like, the hell's the defense on this play? It was like, it was basically
they were getting offensive pass interference like hell was what they were getting. That guy threw him to pushed him off bigger than.
But it was like basically uncontested, and I thought that can't happen, And I don't have the benefit of replay, or I only get what they show me, and I usually don't do a rewatch, because my week just doesn't allow it. But I remember watching that in real time, thinking, what happened there? How do you give up a 4th and 19? And that's what I'm saying. Out of all those plays and all those time on the field and all that, one play sticks out to you. And if you have that happen, you had a pretty good defensive day.
Well, and that play was offensive pass interference. If you're going to call that on our defensive guys, and again, I think all of them except for one were extremely valid, textbook pass interference. But the guy pushed off right in front of the ref. If you're by the pylon, that's where the ref is. And he saw a huge push off. And I think that was one of those that it definitely should have been called because our guy was right there until he got pushed about 5 yards. And then he's wide open at the pylon.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's what I'm saying. It's stuff like that. It's just like, yeah, you give up a lot of points. You give up a lot of yards. Well, you also scored a lot of points. And in retrospect, people can go back and gripe all they want, but there ain't a herd fan in the stands that won't take 52-37 every single week. And it doesn't matter how you get it. If you get 52-37 every week, you'll take it, because at the end of the day, you will be undefeated and you will not care how many points and yards you will have given up. Eventually, one of those games might come back to beat you, because if Marshall doesn't score with ease like that, you could see how that correlates to a long day, right? If you go out and you're struggling and you can't move the football, well, and now all of a sudden you can't stop anybody, but that's a different game, because I don't know. I don't want to get into all that. This was a great day, and B minus is fair to me. I can't get past a team that had allowed 3 sacks all year, and Marshall comes in and gets 4. We talked about driving that number up. And you even specifically said Mike Green is going to drive that number up.
Yeah. And if I just got through saying we could have picked off 3 more, J.J. Roberts had 2 interceptions that, he'd love to have back that he didn't get. But Mike Green could have had easily 3 more sacks than the 2.5 that he already had. if you go back and watch, and I was saying this, I was making a little bit of notes on my phone during the game, but definitely during the rewatch, he was diving at Aguilar's foot as it was getting released, and a couple of those you're just like, oh man, he's going to get him right here, and all you got to do is trip him up, and he did that later on in the game. He tripped him up, and it went for a sack. And you talk about if we would have gotten 7 sacks with Mike Green getting 5.5, and and you're talking about JJ Roberts comes down with even one of those interceptions. This is a even better defensive performance when you look at it, which was an already good performance.
Well, don't forget also another interception did get wiped off the board due to penalty right down there close to the goal line. So it is what it is. It was a great day. They gave up points and yards just like we said they were going to do. But but we just happened to come out and be more explosive and efficient on offense and garnered the win. All right, it is what it is. Sorry, sometimes we are actually better than the teams we're playing. I know that is crazy to think sometimes, but that's what this happens. Special teams, what do you got?
A+. We hit our kicks. The one punt that was inside the 20 was great. We had touchback after touchback after touchback. When you're scoring 52 points, you're kicking off a lot. And we just all but one. They got to return the ball one time. And Ian Foster, like a missile, like he's done the entire – it went down there, and it was a 14-yard gain was all they did when they tried their one attempt to do it. Just absolute lockdown on special teams. Great job all around.
Sure was. Let's move straight into a coaching grade. What do you got for Coach Huff and crew against App State on homecoming?
A+. We've already talked about Daggy and Creel and Huff. How great is it to sit here, no matter what degree Stone Earl is banged up. Let's say he's banged up and you say he's not going to be as effective as a runner. So why don't we put Braxton in there because this is a defense that is susceptible to that. Just top to bottom, A+ all around for the coaching staff for this week. It's homecoming. Coming into this game, it's a big rival. Everything about this said we need to come in and it's the first conference game. We need to come in and make a huge impression. How about putting up 52 points on our rival? Most points that we've ever scored in a Sun Belt Conference game. Most points we've ever scored against App State. It was just tremendous all the way around. The coaches had the team ready. They had the quarterbacks ready. What I like, too, for the coaching grade here is Stone Earl supporting Braxton. Here's a guy that could come in and take his starting spot, and he's on the sidelines just supporting him. He's on social media supporting him after the game. That's everything we heard about how close-knit this team was in the offseason. You got to give the coaches a big hand in that as well.
Yeah, it was on display full tilt again in this one. And like I said, what better game to do it? Lots of recruits in the house, tons of alumni in the house, right? Historic rival on the field. Everybody wants to see you beat App State and get those bragging rights in the Sun Belt East Division. Big game. It was a big game. And I hope that what this does outside of the field, off the field, is I hope it caused a few extra people to make that donation, maybe join the Big Green, something like that, because you're like, man, I haven't been. We talked to some guys that at least one guy that was at our tailgate. He's like, man, I haven't been to a game in 15 years, and it's his first game back, and boy, was he treated to a show. So I've just got to say, like, personally, thanks to Thank you, Coach Huff. Thank you to the staff for giving me the game that I got to sit in the stands and freaking enjoy. I mean, it was even giving up points and yards. I didn't feel like this game was in danger of flipping the other way because we would go right down the field and score again. So any momentum they tried to wrangle, we just wrestle it right back. Yeah. And that's the kind of stuff that I just love to see, and they had these guys prepped and ready. They went out and executed. It was outside of Elijah Metcalf getting hurt. This was about as good of a week as you could hope at Joan C. Edwards Stadium, given the opponent and the game, the weather, everything was awesome. And those guys, how many times have we gone to games and things that set up like that, and we've had a letdown? Or we didn't even let one slip away, but we just played sloppier and stunk up a win. Not this one. Not this one. This one was a great one. How about the fans?
A+. The We Are Marshall chant was loud. It was long lasting. We had 28,023 there. The only thing is, I'm going to say, when I need to get a water or something from the concession stand, I'm going to need no one else to go down there. Just coordinate this with me so I don't have to wait in. Man, those lines were long. But you're going to have that. And I'm not bitching or complaining. You're going to have that when you have a lot of people there. You're going to have that when you got a lot of people there and it's hot. People are going to want to go down there and get something to drink. A+ all around.
Yeah,
great in the tailgate, great in the stands.
Small price to pay. And I know you're joking, you're tongue in cheek with that, but also you'd really like to be able to have a shorter line when you're thirsty. But I'll take that. That's a great trade-off for me to have 28 pushing 29. Like, give me the capacity crowd. I would love to be thirsty for a few extra minutes in order for more asses to be in seats. And by and large, everybody was on the same page with this one. They wanted to obviously get this win. It wasn't, hey, my guy is the guy and your guy's not the guy. And everybody was rallied around for a common cause. That common cause had a couple of arms to it. They wanted to beat Appalachian State, but they also knew that this game was a little bit more than just football because of what those guys were going through and that community was going through, and how even if you're not personally impacted by the plane crash, I'm not personally impacted, but you still understand because this is Marshall and this is your school and you know what it's like to deal with that sort of thing. And I don't think that if they would have played anybody else, that it would have felt the same for them.
Kudos to our fans for that as well.
Yeah, they were herd hospitality is always ever present, but I think it was just to the max on this one, because I talked to I don't know how many App fans that were talking man, it's been unbelievable. My trips here have been great in the past, but this one is unbelievable. Everybody was inviting us over and everybody wanted to talk and everybody wanted to hear the story and asked if we were hungry or thirsty or what. It was unbelievable. And that's exactly what we were hoping to hear. And I'll tell you what, I heard a story. I tweeted about this earlier. I'm going to share it right now since we're talking about fans. This is a little bit more to do with the university, but it's same thing. Since we're talking about the fabric of the herd and what it is and what we stand for and kind of who we are. I had somebody say that our School of Aviation was taking trips down there. I didn't know about this. They hadn't publicized this. I think that also means something, that they weren't doing this and then going, hey, look what we're doing.
Right.
They were in an effort to help, but also allow the students to get flying time, whatever you want to call it, whatever the term is, hours. They were taking trips down to the Boone area and delivering first aid kits. And one guy told me that they delivered, I want to say he said 800 first aid kits to that area. And I heard nothing about that, and I would have thought that we would have heard something about that, and I think that's what makes that really special. I don't feel weird sharing that story because it's not somebody from Marshall didn't go, hey, you guys say this. We didn't want to say it, but you guys say it. I think that's a freaking awesome story because that guy goes, who does that? What other school does that? You have an aviation school and you see an opportunity to help and you help, and that's just kind of what it is. That's just kind of what it means to be a son of Marshall or a daughter of Marshall. And if you can help, you help. That's just what you do. And if you don't, okay, I'm not going to hold your feet to the fire, but I'm just saying it seems like more of us than not are just hardwired that way to help. And I know that's a regional thing too, because these Appalachian folks are taking care of themselves down there as much as they can, and they're rallying, and they're victims of circumstance, but they're not victims. You know what I mean? They're like, time to go to work, time to clean up, time to, help out each other. And I think it just speaks so much to what this region is. It makes you really proud to be from here and know that if shit goes sideways, there are people that'll help you that you don't even know that will help you. So overall, what do you got for this homecoming massively important win against App State?
A+, man. 52 points on homecoming against a rival. Like I said, just everything about it. Tailgate was banging. The having the app people there and getting to talk to them. The fact that we were able to send it was $1,065, and I have to say, I had someone reach out afterwards and hit my Venmo with $100 after we had posted that. So we did that as well, an additional $100, and it was a WVU fan.
And
good
for them.
Yeah, and he sent it to there, and the comment just said, hope it's not too late and everything. Don't say Mountaineer fans are all bad or something like that.
Well, no, they're not all bad.
So $1,165, and obviously that didn't all come from us. It came from generous herd fans and people that listen, watch, consume our content, that sort of thing, come to the tailgates. But the fact of the matter is that there were so many other people donating directly and not, through. We had put this up before all those things came out of you can donate directly. So I know fans were sending money directly to the different things down there. Samaritan's Purse has done a lot. The Red Cross has done a lot. People were donating directly to the Sunbelt Conference one that was put out. Also, the App State Fund that we sent, people were sending directly to that. So just to see everything about this weekend that we were able to give the App State fans, that little reprieve, and then also do some stuff good for them as well. And the things that you just mentioned, A+ all around.
Yep. A+ weekend, A+ game, A+ tailgate, hospitality off the charts as you would expect. But man, herd fans came together for this one. They did to both support the team and support the Boone community. They came together. This was a banner weekend for. They should be really proud of themselves. I'm proud to be a Marshall alum this week. We didn't even talk about the Marching Thunder playing the App State fight song, which was top tier, man. Like biggest touch of class ever. And that was one of those things that really struck a chord with a lot of their fans on social media, even ones that obviously were not at the game. Some were at the game and really appreciated that. But the ones that weren't at the game, man, we tweeted about that, talked about that, and that got a lot of interaction from folks that were just like, man, that is some really first-class stuff. And just all the way around. The detail was not missed. Excellent job. And on top of that, country star Zach Brown was there. What are you going to do? All right, how about an offensive MVP?
Braylon Braxton.
Hey, offensive player of the week. You get it, dude. Hands down. You earned it. Defensive MVPs.
Mike Green, 2.5 sacks, almost matched what they had given up through the 4 games previously. But like I said, he was back there. I mean, he might as well have been in there as much as their running back. He was back there in the backfield that much, and almost came away with at least 3 more.
Yeah, it was really close. One of these days, one of these games, he's going to catch it just right and, cut that edge a little closer, and he's just going to give some quarterback a completely hellish day. It's Mike Green for me, too, with a special shout-out to Jacoby Henderson for the game he had, his finest game as a corner for the herd. And he, like I said, tested early and often, and he rose to the occasion every time. The very first deep ball was to him, and it was a beautiful pass defended. That set the tone for him, and you could tell that he was ready for that one. So congratulations to him.
I had another one there in the end zone, too, to break one up later on in the game.
Special teams, the MVP for you?
Ian Foster, again, man. I mean, you could say we did great with the punt, but to me, Ian Foster goes down the one time that they get to try to return one, and he comes like a missile with a solo tackle. KD, what happens on that very next play?
Well, it starts to get ugly, right? Because
they bobble the ball up in the air. J.C. Anderson catches it, pick 6, and we score twice within like 14 seconds or something like that. And it was all off to the races at that point.
Yeah, couldn't have happened to a nicer guy too. J.C. Anderson, a guy that's been around, and now that play for him, that signature play so far in this season has occurred. He finds the end zone. I hope he gets himself at least one more for the remainder of this season, because man, that was a big play. Shifted the momentum right back away from App State and right back into Marshall's front pockets, and they just never really looked back from there. Russ, if you got nothing else on this one, let's go around the herd.
Let's take it around the herd, and we are going to start off with cross country. We talked about it earlier, but Marshall women placed 14th of 27 at Live and Lou. They were led by Kylie Mastens, 15th out of 263 runners.
Wow.
Place finish in the 5K. Again, set her personal record, personal best, second meet in a row. The men finished 24th. Tennis, they picked up singles wins here by Emma Vanderhayden, had two of them. Sophia Hurion had one. Aisling McGrain had one. And Meredith Riley had one in the two-day UC Cincinnati Pam Whitehead Invitational. Doubles wins, Aisling McGrain and Nell Van Hout. And this is a new team. Last year, McGrain was with someone else. They picked up two wins. And Vanderhayden and Hurion also picked one up. So good little showing. They had 5 different wins on day one. So looking forward. This is the first time that they had a couple matches or whatever this year. Started off pretty good. Volleyball did not do so well. For the second time in a row to a Sun Belt Conference opponent, they got swept 3 matches to nothing in both days. This time to Georgia Southern. Got 3 matches on Friday, 3 on Saturday. They host James Madison Friday at 6 p.m. and Saturday at 2 p.m. We really hope to have a big turnaround. Maybe the fans can go to that and make an impact and be that crowd source that can get the energy in there and help us turn it around in the Sun Belt Conference.
Mm-hmm.
Swim and dive had an absolute huge day. 2 days actually. I do not want to go over every single thing. I just want to say that we won for the second consecutive year West Virginia games. We already talked about picking up the swimmer of the week in the Sun Belt Conference and the diver of the week in the Sun Belt Conference. But do yourself a favor, go over to Herd Zone and just look. There's 2 different articles about one for each day. Just what we were able to do over those 2 days and all the different wins and things that we got. But just absolutely dominated at Morgantown, by the way. Baseball, they had fall ball against Ohio on Sunday. Talked to somebody that was over there. I was actually at softball. I didn't get to make my way over, and I was thinking about trying to go over to both. And all of a sudden, while I was thinking about going over there to see how much game was left, fans were coming out, and they were walking by where I was at softball. They said the team looks vastly improved offensively. Just in the box, hitting better, taking pitches, just every single thing about it looked a lot better. So the reports that I heard and talked, one of the guys that I talked to is a former Marshall player of baseball, so he would know what he's looking for. He said that he thinks that they're going to be really good offensively this year.
Good.
They will be hosting Kent State Friday at 5 p.m. and the Toronto Mets on Sunday at 2 p.m. All right, softball. They had a fall ball game against University of Charleston, and then had a doubleheader that I was able to go to parts of both of those games against Ohio. Ohio brought baseball and softball down here on the same day on Sunday. Don't have any scores. I didn't even walk around. I just enjoyed watching them play. I didn't even walk around to look at the scoreboard where I was at in the outfield. Didn't really care. I was taking in softball, and it was in October. That's what I cared about. Don't forget, they've got the Home Run Derby coming up Saturday at noon. I hope to see everybody over there. And throw a little bit of money on your favorite to win the home run derby this year. It's a great event that you have fun watching, but it's also a good fundraiser for the softball team.
Yeah, you can get the link to that on Herd Zone.
Yep.
So it's been up and available for a while. So as it's now closer, just a few days away, it's a great time to, as you're listening to this right now, or as soon as you can, just click over on the Herd Zone and navigate over to the softball pages, pick out your favorite player and throw them some support.
They also are going to have Friday at 4 p.m. Glenville State, and then they have somebody on Sunday. I didn't write it down here. I think that they're going to have another one. Okay. But again, the big event Saturday, if you can't make it to any of the fall ball games, get over there for the home run derby. It was great last year. I expect it to be even bigger this year. Women's soccer, they lost 1-0 at home to Georgia Southern on Sunday. And then earlier tonight, have you seen any of this before we got to record?
Oh, I did. I saw some goals, if that's what you mean, but
we were up right at 11 minutes left. We were up 3-1. We scored another goal to go up 3-1, and they ended up tying it in the 89th minute, and we ended up with a 3-3 draw. But up 3-1, and you're like 11 minutes left. You really like those odds, but ended up with a draw. Yeah. So they will be hosting App State Sunday at 1 p.m. So if you got nothing else to do, get down there for that. Men's soccer, we talked about it earlier, but we were the ones coming back late. We ended up scoring 2 goals to end up with a draw against James Madison in a battle of top 10 teams. At the time, it was number 5 versus number 10. And as you said, both of us kind of stayed in that top 10 from the Sun Belt. Facing UCF on Sunday at 5 p.m., as we are already mentioned.
Yep. Got to have this one. Need to get 3. Need to get 3 points. Can't be doing these draws and things. It was great to fight back and capture a point because it didn't look so good against James Madison. So that's a damn good team, and that was one that I felt lucky to escape with a point because it did not look good.
Good.
But we need to go down, take care of business, start putting 3 in the column instead of 1, and definitely not 0. But a great weekend all around, a wholesale weekend for Herd Athletics, a great homecoming weekend. So anything else?
That's it for Around the Herd, and I don't have anything for final words either.
Well, hell, then let's take it out of here.
Yeah, so whether you see us at the Joan, whether you see us at the Jack, or whether you see us at the Dot, no matter where you see us, we're going to be saying, go Herd.
Go Herd. It's a ThunderCast. Big game down in Statesboro. Come back here probably tomorrow, and you'll have a preview for the Herd and Georgia Southern. It's a whiteout down in Georgia, so see if the Herd can take care of business. Later.